every time with Rob Browne breaking it all down. Yeah. SEC Sidelines Sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time, highlight shine, executive mind. Brendan Martin keeping Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline Sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune. From the booth to the field, every Saturday feeling you home. We ride that rivalry, make that living room sound like the zone. From Tiger Grouse to Rebel Crowds, every hometown heartbeat loud. Rob and Brand turning up that talk like you right there inside the crowd. SEC Sideline Sports on my mind. Rob Browne calling game time, highlight shine, executive mind. Brandon Martin keeping Rob in line. Like, subscribe, share it, tell everyone. Sideline Sports, y'all come back real soon. Same place, same time, same tune. Hey!
Damn good.
Man, I had to let him go this morning, man. You know, they're up early. I made them breakfast.
Early, big old country breakfast.
We
country
still haven't
ham.
named them. They're pissed off about the whole thing. Well, guys, come on. I know.
I think
I
we
made
need.
the Colombian coffee.
How about the
right.
reporters?
Whew.
How about the sidelines reporters, the band?
Yeah. Oh, well, no, I don't like that.
Okay,
at all.
we're like,
but was somebody, who was it? Somebody came up with the rowdy something.
the rowdy red zone.
Red Zone Rowdies was
Red
pretty
Zone Rowdies. I like that. I like that.
like that
Don't
too.
want to limit ourselves to just football, but I'm telling you, I love this band. They're great. They're going on tour. Hey, do us a favor. Take a picture with your phone of the QR codes. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yeah, man.
And just do it. Share it, like it, subscribe. I know I send a lot of texts to people, reminders, and I completely forgot this morning. But you know what?
Sorry.
When this show gets going, share it, like it, subscribe, and that's how this thing grows.
Less
You
is
send it
more.
to your friends, and we love it. And look, we got Coach Matt
You want to
Dean.
be missed once in a while. you
Yeah.
know?
That's
Hey,
right.
R.I.P. Lou Holtz.
I know. I was going to say that too. And man, Lou Holtz and Pete Cordelli loved him like another father. And, you know, Lou Holtz, after he got out of coaching, remained out there in the forefront of issues. He was never afraid to comment. He was a good, strong German Catholic from Ohio, was on the staff with Woody Hayes at Ohio State, won a national championship at Notre Dame, got to South
Motivated.
Carolina. Yeah, great. My dad heard him speak one time in Orlando at an AIA convention. He was the keynote speaker for the American Institute of Architects. And he said, you know, I walked on at Auburn, so I got to hear a little bit of Shug Jordan in the brief time I was a walk-on studying architecture. I've heard about Lombardi. I've heard a lot of his speeches. He goes, Lou Holtz might be better than all of them. That's how great a motivator he was. And he's got 4 children. You know, Skip Holtz, his son, a coach that he leaves behind, and his wife,
The most
Beth.
unsuspecting badass ever, right?
Yeah, he really is. And Lou's got 4 children, Pete said, that are still here. And I think he lived in Orlando when he died. But hey, his wife passed away, Beth Holtz, in June of 20, because Pete was on the show with us that day. And man, he will be missed, but never forgotten. John Hartwell checking in from Fairhope, Alabama. Been out there running, drag racing on the Foley Beach Expressway today in his 1979 Nova, and his wife's got a 79 Pacer. So watch out for them. But guys,
Yeah.
how did you win?
Yeah, I upgraded from the Pinto. You know, I went. You know, I thought about getting the Pacer, but I decided, you know, that was a little much for me.
That's right, guys. Basketball huge right now. We've got the crunch time. The Gators have pulled away from the dock a long time ago. They won like 11 or 12 straight, and this is something. I mean, I'm talking to 2 basketball players and coaches, so I'm not going to get out of my lane. I know how to stay in my lane. But I'll start with you, Matt. When you got 5 big guys that can run up and down the court, that are coordinated, that don't have a hissy fit when they don't have the ball in their hands, and they're cheering just as hard when they're on the bench as they are on the floor, what's not to love about that? That's Gator basketball.
We've been saying it for weeks, guys, and welcome. Good to be back. Thanks for having me on, guys. Florida is the class of the SEC, and they're, in my opinion, they are playing so well. I think they're destined for another Final Four. Now, to win it, I will tell you, I watched Duke twice this week, Brendan, and Duke is the real deal too. I could see, if they're opposite sides of the bracket, how it pairs out. I could see a Duke-Florida final. I really could. Everyone's talking a little bit about Michigan, rightfully so. Arizona, probably the class of the Big 12. Probably my sleeper pick again, even though it's not really a sleeper. I just think Houston's a tournament-based team. When they get in the matchup, they're going to lock you down defensively. They can score a little bit more this year. Those are just my 5 teams off the top of my head. But last night, guys, how about Arkansas again? We've talked about them off and on. They just took apart Texas 105-85. So besides Florida, who's going to be in my Final Four prediction, Arkansas could still make a run. I told you last week, I like Alabama in terms of they're a tough matchup. But the reality of the situation is, man, Georgia just took it to them earlier this week. I mean, Georgia goes and beats them 98-88, I believe. You're going to see an SEC team like Bucky Ball beat Kentucky the other night. They're still 10-7 in the league. I mean, A&M's a tough matchup. SEC is going to have multiple teams in the Sweet 16. It wouldn't shock me, besides Florida, if we get another team in the Final Four.
John Hartwell, who might that team be? Great commentary by Coach.
Yeah, I mean, Alabama is, as we've talked about, Nate Oates does a tremendous job with those guys. But you got to look at what Georgia did the other day. Credit to Mike White and those guys, because their back was kind of against the walls. People were starting to say, hey, is Georgia a bubble team? They clearly played themselves off the bubble the other night, regardless of what they do in the SEC tournament. But, I hate to keep coming back to this because we've talked a lot about this, but next up for Alabama, you got Auburn on Saturday, and an Auburn team that probably has to beat Alabama, and unless they make a run, to the championship game in the SEC tournament. So that'll be a good game to watch. Arkansas with Cal, they're obviously playing really, really well. But I want to go back to a point that Matt made, because I totally agree. You got to put the ball in the bucket to score, to win games, but defense wins championships, and never count out Kelvin Sampson and what they do defensively, pressuring, because what full court pressure can do sometimes is full court pressure can negate the effectiveness of size inside. Because if you can't get the ball down the court, you can't get it inside to the big guy.
Yeah, and both of y'all, Kelvin Sampson, you talk about they don't have much of a budget NIL. He recruits the Metro Houston area. Well, that's like saying that you're recruiting several, 3 or 4 different states. It's such a massive area, and he doesn't have to pay them as much because they want to stay close to home. Matt, you look at the job. Look, y'all know I'm an Auburn grad, but on this show, I'm agnostic. I got 16 kids, and I love them all. And I mean this. Nate Oates, and I've seen the comments, well, he sure held them together back in January of 15 January of 23 when they had the terrible murder on the Strip. It was terrible. And now Charles Bediako comes back. They lose 2 out of 3 games. He's there. I think he's still practicing with the team. Who wouldn't have tried to bring a player back like that? Let's be fair. Let's don't be, hypocritical. But this guy's a hell of a coach. John mentioned it, and if you had a sit down and you could talk to him, you had 20 minutes to talk to Nate Oates, what would be the first couple of questions?
I would want to learn more about his offensive system, because a lot of times if you're just a casual fan, you just think, well, Bama just pushes the ball and they just come down and they launch threes. But I'll tell you what, man, like anything that's from the dribble drive family, penetrate and kick, I think there's always some quick hitters after timeout situations that Nate Oates does a really good job of getting his team in position to score. And the matchup problem is true. Because their style of play is unique, some teams struggle in the full court. John's right. The greatest the greatest friend that you can have as a defensive-minded coach is ball pressure. If I have a good post game, what are we telling our guards to do? We're telling them to pressure the ball. If the ball gets on the wing, we have got to pressure the basketball to eliminate the post entry. My questions about Alabama have nothing to do with his offense. I just think, from a defensive standpoint, when you play that pace and you increase the possessions, when you're not making shots, you're giving the other team more chances to make shots too. And I just think that's the detriment sometimes of that style. When you're not shooting the ball well from the perimeter, you can lose to people like they did tonight against Georgia.
Yeah. John, I want to ask you about a coach who's been around a long time, 17 years at Texas, got to a Final Four, but it wasn't with Kevin Durant, Rick Barnes. Everybody seems to really like this guy. And Audrey's cousin Mark sees him in the neighborhood walking all the time. He's so outgoing. He'll talk to anybody. He's from Hickory, North Carolina. Y'all know where that is. I-40 on the way to Charlotte. You take a right at Hickory where all the furniture markets are. By the way, the Amish make great furniture, John.
Hey, there's also a guy named Church who can sing pretty well, who's from Hickory, North Carolina, too. So
I've heard of it. Yeah.
I think Eric may be coming to Brendan for his next look in the sunglasses department. I mean, Brendan's got it going on today.
You're rolling.
Hey, you know what? One thing funny about Brendan too, I don't know what his sleep hours are, but he's like an owl.
Well, the website
he's
crashed 2 days ago, and so I've been up for 2 days. So
yeah, someone cut the wires the other day. Get this, I think it was Monday. Someone cut the wires.
Yeah, that too. But I have a website, go GatoradeMedia.com, which I also run and I'm the webmaster for, and we also do it with my father. So that crashed 2 days ago right before spring ball. So I've been up for two days. These are my tired glasses that my eyes are so exhausted and they're just like tearing constantly. So I put on Buddy Martin's old 1975 glasses he wore to work.
I love them, man. His
vision is the same as mine. So I was like, oh, these are great.
So I didn't mean to digress from the Barnes comment, because what a tremendous coach. And you think back to his days at Texas and had a great run there. A lot of people thought that he was going to be a candidate, whether it was North Carolina, NC State, to come back to his home state to coach one of the basketball thoroughbreds. Never really happened. But man, you will not find a nicer guy in the business. And I'll give this anecdote to it. When Mac Browne and Rick Barnes were at Texas together, a little North Carolina flavor coming to Texas. Two of not just really good coaches, but even better people in the business.
Yeah. Well, we had Mac Browne on the show back in late September. Got to meet him at the Touchdown Club. Is such a genuinely good person. His brother Watson. You know where they're from? As they say in Tennessee, he's from up on the Gap, the Cumberland Gap in Cookeville, Tennessee. Yeah. Don't forget that.
That's right. Yeah.
I think Barnes is pushing 900 wins, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's up there in rare air in terms of wins, and don't totally count them out. I mean, they've got the talent to make a run too. Again, think about this: there's 68 teams in the tournament, and that's kind of separating the first four that play. All you got to do is get hot over a 72-hour period,
right,
and win 2 games, and all of a sudden you're in the Sweet 16. So I think there's some great basketball ahead here in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Doesn't it remind you a lot at the end of the year at final exams? Just get hot on the exam. He hadn't been to class in 3 weeks. Forget about it. Matt, right. Another team I want to ask you about in this league, and that is Georgia, and then go to Kentucky. But Georgia hit that 20-win plateau. They're there, and they beat Alabama. They won some significant games this year. What's the ceiling on Georgia? You look at the recruiting base they've got, it should be really high, but I'm talking about this team at this moment.
I think John hit it spot on earlier. I think that win against Bama puts them clearly off the bubble, in my opinion, John. And I think they're a team because of their firepower. I wouldn't want to play them in the first round. I'm assuming it's going to be a 7-10 type matchup. I'm guessing they're a 10, John, maybe an 11. in the tournament, which means it's a 6-11, 7-10 matchup, which means, it's definitely a winnable game. You know, I look at this league, and there are nights when I think Kentucky's a really good basketball team, and they've obviously invested in their roster. And there are nights when I'm just like not convinced that they had the cohesiveness to get it to the second weekend. I think they have the talent to get to the second weekend. I just think, sometimes we get beat down in league play. Like we got 4 teams, I think, maybe 3 that are 10-7 in the league. Which honestly, if you go 10-7 so far in the SEC, and you think of the fact that Florida has a chance to win the whole thing again, that's not bad work, a body of work, because it's hard to win on the road, guys. Road wins are like gold bars; they're very difficult to obtain. So I just think Georgia's got a chance to win a first game, and then if that's the situation, they're probably playing a 2 or 3 seed in the second game, and that would obviously I would favor the other team.
Yeah. Good question here. How good is Florida? Look what Arkansas did to Texas last night. 20-point win. Sean Miller, talk about coaching depth, John Hartwell and Matt Dean. Y'all know, John, Sean Miller had a hell of a career at Arizona until he didn't. Yeah. But, all right, got to ask you about another team, Dennis Gates in Missouri. They've got a couple of 7-footers on there. We used to be, everybody wanted to have a big center. Y'all remember a guy that played for the Creighton Blue Jays? A big guy. Benoit Benjamin.
Wow, you're dating yourself.
Hell of a player, but you got nobody has, friends. I always remember things. They get caught in the steel trap. But when you've got big guys that can run that are coordinated, Missouri could make a run, guys. John?
Yeah. Hey, Rob, I got a quick trivia question for you. And I don't know if he was there the entire time Benoit Benjamin was there, but who was the coach of Creighton at that time? NBA great.
Oh, God. It wasn't Paul Westphal.
Willis Reed.
Willis Reed.
Wow,
That's right. That's right.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Willis Reed. What would an Oscar Robertson or Willis Reed card be worth today? I'll have to check out with Pawn Shop Stars, the guys out in Las Vegas. We need to get them on the show, and people can turn in their cards. All right,
but Missouri, Dennis Gates, and the interesting thing with the Tigers is their men's basketball program is, and they've had success in the past, but has not been very good, in recent years. But you look at their men's basketball program is really mirroring what they've done in football. They have built a solid foundation. Have a ton of respect around the SEC. Playing Missouri is not an automatic W, like people used to think it was. But that's another team that's a solid NCAA tournament team. Can they win 2 games and get to the second weekend? Yes. Will they be favored? Probably not. But, that's what a lot of people don't understand about the SEC this year. Yes, Florida's elite. Yes, there are 3 or 4 teams that are not going to even be in consideration for NCAA tournament time. But that middle of the pack, somebody gets hot, a guard gets hot and goes off for 35, a couple of games in a row. They can get to that second weekend. Of those 16 teams, nobody has a crystal ball. But I'd say, if we see 4 or 5 SEC teams get to that second weekend, I wouldn't be surprised at that at all.
I wouldn't either. I just remember a couple of years ago, Missouri was so god awful. They went 0-18 in the SEC, and that's a heck of a turnaround. Are these the same gummies that Paul endorses? I guess you're thinking of Paul Feinbaum. I don't know, but if you got aches and pains and sleep issues, hempforpros.com. This is the roll-on. It's 100% natural. Put it on where you're hurting to stop the pain so you can actually heal. And then they got the energy gummies 4X. They got the chill, and they got the lights out. Hempforpros.com. I know we endorse them. That's all I can say. All right, Matt, another team looking around here on this roster. You mentioned Kentucky. Allegedly, they spent $22 million on their roster, and they've got 10 wins. What are they, 10-6, 10-7? This is year 2 for Mark Pope. I don't see them, winning at all, but they certainly can make it to the Sweet 16. They're Kentucky.
Yeah, that's true. And quite frankly, in this era we live in right now, if you have a really good offseason, you're a contender the next season. And that's what makes, in my mind, what Florida's done so impressive. You know, you're looking at a team that won the national championship last year, lost some pieces, retained a lot of good pieces, and they're just as deep as ever. They're really peaking at the right time. And I have a feeling that, you know, they're going to be a 1 seed. If they win the SEC tournament, I think Florida's a 1 seed, and they're going to have a favorable draw to get back to the Sweet 16. And I think they're going to make it to the Final Four. I think if you look at what they do, they can protect the rim. They can play in transition. They can play in space. The only time that we question them a little bit would be if the perimeter game's not there, but I love their chances.
Yeah. Guys, a couple of years ago, our good friend Lauren Smith of the Georgia Football Network, one of the patriarchs of Southern football, wrote a book for the 21 national championship team, and he held up at a writer's penal colony at Sea Island, Georgia. Tough place to be. And I said during the next season, I said, well, you better get your pen ready because you're going to have to write another book. And he did.
Yeah.
Franz Beard wrote a great book last year, folks, about this national championship Gators team. It's out now. It's called The Golden Season. Franz, get your pen and paper handy because you're going to that's a terrible word. I'm going to predict it now. You're going to have to write another book. I'm going to predict it now. Last year, I predicted Florida would win it all and beat Houston by 3 points, and they did. Am I crazy, John, Matt? You know I am, but
you are, but you're not.
Yeah. Okay. John?
Yeah, I mean, they've got, again, having the experience, the number of minutes that are being played this year by guys who won a national championship last year, and that matters. It matters throughout the season, but it especially matters come March. I would not bet against them, but again, there are some really good teams out there. I'll go back to Kentucky for a minute. I don't think Kentucky, certainly gets to a Final Four. There's some unrest in Lexington right now. Some of you probably saw Mitch Barnhart, longtime athletic director, announced his retirement. Something seems off. There's so much talent on that team, and Coach Pope, has had a couple of episodes of late where he's kind of lost it as well. So I just think that something is askew there. Could they win a couple of games? Yeah. Are they a Final Four team? No, absolutely not.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. And just because you're spending a lot of money doesn't mean you're going to have a great team. Matt, chemistry in the locker room. You're the coach, and you got guys. I'm going to predict there's guys bitching about money, and they're looking at their mobile banking apps a lot. You know what I've been hearing a lot from John Sumrall is about, look, if you don't like being pushed every day, me getting on your ass, you're not going to want to play for me. Golly, we're actually talking about tough practices. That's a huge thing. So, I mean, look, we're getting back to the games more and more. All right, guys, Stephen Pearl. However he got the job, he got the job. I think most of y'all if both of y'all could have your way, or fans could, he would have gone somewhere 4 or 5 years and been a head coach and then come back to Auburn if he was qualified. Does Stephen Pearl, if you look what Todd Golden did his first year at Florida, 16 and 17, does he look like he's going to figure it out? Whoever wants to take a stab at that one, John, Matt.
Well, let me say this. For someone who has been an assistant coach a long time in my career, like Stephen was, and then got promoted to become the head coach, it's the hardest transition I've ever faced. My first year, my stomach was in knots. The game sped up for me as a tactician, as a floor leader, for my team in a coaching sense. If they lose to Alabama this week, they'll be 16 and 15. They're not getting in. I think John's right. They need to beat Bama, win 2 in the SEC to have a legitimate shot to get off the bubble, right? But I think Stephen in the offseason can kind of take a chance to breathe a little bit, go explore the portal a little bit, go look at the roster, see what he needs, talk to Pops. I mean, you're going to get better in this profession. I know everyone's probably very critical of him right now. Probably doesn't help when his dad's talking about the Miami of Ohio doesn't deserve to be in the NCAA tournament if they don't win.
That's our next topic.
I mean, I heard those comments this week. I'm like, Bruce, you're not doing him any favors. Just stop talking about that. The reality of the situation is sometimes you have to take a step back, take two forward. And I think for him, this offseason will be critical. He needs to basically get with some people in his circle beside his dad and kind of reevaluate what went wrong with this roster and how they need to improve. And I think he will. I look for them next year to take a jump, and I look for him to get better, because here's the thing I know he can do. He's got an electric personality. He can recruit. Right now, figuring out how you get those 8 to 10 guys in a rotation that makes sense to win basketball games, guys, it's one of the hardest things you have to do in your life. I'm just telling you, coaching basketball is hard, because sometimes you want to put a defender out there. You got other people who need the basketball to be happy. We talked about Ole Miss's problems this year. Chris Beard's a hell of a coach. They had a bad year. And sometimes these one-year deals where you're getting guys that you're paying money for, they don't work out, guys. That's why Florida's so special. They have continuity. That's why they can do it again.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like aunts and uncles that, maybe they don't have kids, and you've got 3 or 4, and you say, hey, we're going to Africa for 2 weeks on a safari. Can you keep them? They get the old alligator arms. Being a head coach, John Hartwell, Matt, you've been AD, associate AD, head coach, assistant coach. John, you've played college basketball at the Citadel over in Charleston. You've been an AD. Put your AD hat on right now. End of the year, after action review that you do with Stephen Pearl, what's that meeting going to be like?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got to encourage him, but you've also got to be a truth teller, to borrow one of your terms, Rob.
Truth broker,
and I'll say this: if I were, John Cohen and having a conversation with him, I would encourage him to take a look at his staff, not knocking any of the guys on his current staff, but I would go find, and this is another, what I would say is a negative byproduct of the timing of his hire. Not only was there not a big pool out there in terms of head coaches, but the assistant coaches, you basically had to take what you already had. Mm-hmm. And I think it would be a wise investment by Stephen Pearl, a wise investment by Auburn basketball to go get a guy who has been a head coach, a veteran head coach, a truth teller, to be able to be a calming influence on Stephen Pearl, and also to have the free reign. And it doesn't do any good to hire one of those guys.
Yeah. Well, finding somebody that's qualified, and John was making great points. I can tell you one right now who would be a great head coach. He's qualified. He's interviewed a lot of people. That's Gary Harris, WVUA Channel 23, Tuscaloosa. Put the app on your phone. Gary, I got friends, as many Alabama friends as I do Auburn. I mean, like our oldest daughter, Alabama, Mallory. A lot of them are putting this app, Tide 100.9, on their phone. They're going, hell, man, it's just pretty cool. I'm driving through traffic in Denver listening to this guy's damn show. I love it, man. Tider Insider, you and our friend Rodney Orr do a great show Tuesday nights at 6:30. Alabama, you are boots on the ground. And from the day we put this show together with Brendan said, drill down local. Good morning. Thank you, as always, for sharing your time. You're one of our absolute favorites in the business.
Good morning.
Well,
good to be here.
Good to be here. Look, do you want to be the head coach at Auburn?
I don't know where you get the intro, dude. Like, you realize that that people who Irish goodbye, they came out with the stat. I'm going to interrupt here. The people who Irish.
Well, I heard you guys talking about the Stephen Pearl situation, and it's not ideal for Auburn. And Bruce Pearl's an analyst now, and he's also involved heavily in, political viewpoints and things like that. So he's got a big social media presence. Smart guy, great coach. I don't know that he served Stephen Pearl very well when he told Dan Dockage, nepotism was in place. Yeah, I did what I had to do to get my son the job. And obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, most people already knew that, but
don't remind us.
I don't know. I thought that was unusual. And I think it puts more pressure on Stephen Pearl now, because it's almost, and I don't think Bruce meant it that way, but it's almost like, I don't even know if, if he deserved the job or not, but I was going to make sure he got it. And Auburn allowed that to happen, and he orchestrated it. And now, they need to win Saturday night in Tuscaloosa. I think they lose that game. I don't think they're going to get in the NCAA tournament.
I would agree with that. Another quick question before we go back up to Matt Dean. Nate Oates, is this one of his best coaching jobs considering all the distractions?
Rob, I think you said something that not a lot of people have touched on. I think he's done a great job. And, Alabama, boy, you could, and somebody sent it to me, the all portal team of players that were at Alabama that are elsewhere now. I mean, there are some studs, you start Bradley at Arizona, Stevenson at North Carolina. And I mean, the guys that have come through here that aren't here now. And Alabama did not do well in the portal this year. I mean, they've pretty much whiffed. Bo Bowen maybe has given them a little bit, but those other three guys haven't given him hardly anything. He's had guys in and out of the lineup all year. I mean, what's it up to now? I think 14 different starting lineups. And you're only talking about 5 guys that play in basketball. Yeah. And to be right now a win away from the number 2 seed in the SEC tournament behind Florida, possibly, I think, to get up to the 4 line, and if they make a deep run in the SEC tournament, could still even be a 3 seed. Yeah, I'm with you, Rob. I think it's one of his better jobs because he's had to overcome a lot with this team, man. And still, you saw it, in Athens. He was not happy with that performance. He stressed to him all week after a big road win, coming back and following that up. They really hadn't done it all year, and they got beat and did not play well. Rebounding is an issue with this team. Defense is an issue. Yet, they've won 20-plus games. I think he's done a marvelous job with this team because they're flawed, man. And I feel kind of dumb when I say this. They struggle with Florida. They could struggle with Connecticut. They struggle with Arizona. Yeah. They could struggle with these big physical teams. Well, who doesn't struggle with those teams, right? Yeah. At the same time, Alabama does not have much of an inside presence. I mean, there's a reason they wanted to bring Bediako on. Sherrill at times flashes, but that's about it right now. The rest of those guys are more perimeter guys. Amari Allen's a little bit of a swinger, inside or outside, but they don't really have the inside presence that you would think you need to be where they're at right now, battling for, the number 2 seed in the SEC tournament.
Yeah. And Matt, talking about Gary several weeks ago said, look, there's a lot of European players that are playing college basketball that were getting paid for 2 or 3 or 4 years. I think that number came out the other day. It's 136 European foreign players on American college basketball rosters who are getting paid, who've come back to college. Say what you want about how they do it in Europe, but I will say basketball is really big over there, Matt.
Yeah, and we had this conversation before, and I'm just telling you, we see all these 7th and 8th year players out there, and Gary's my eligibilities are. So when you go to the Bediako case, I'm like, the reality of the situation is at the core of it, the kid wants to come back and get a degree too, right? I heard he's a great kid. He's a great player. I thought it was going to work when they gave him the ability to come back and play, and obviously it was delayed in the courts. The whole thing, we've got issues with the calendar in football. We got eligibility issues across the board. If John Hartwell hired me tomorrow and he took an AD job and said, Matt, I want you to build a college program, this is what I would do. And I said, first of all, John, the only way I'm taking the job is if you got patience with me, because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out and get 2 straight classes of young kids. I'm talking high school kids, right? And I'm going to develop these kids. And then year 3, you better save your money because I'm going to spend in the portal year 3 and get me some 1-year guys that can help us make a run. And I think some people are going about this all wrong because they think they have to hit on it every year. Obviously, Ole Miss didn't hit on this year. It's hard to hit on it every year. You have to have some continuity. That's what Florida's done. They've got some guys that stayed with the program. You said golden first year, Rob, was under 500 or right at 500. Mm-hmm. Look what he's done now. You have to have an AD that gives you the ability to see your vision and share your vision and create a plan. Has to start with a high school foundation. Then by year 3, let me spend some money.
Matt, great point. John, pick up on that before we go back to Gary, because Gary's got a great show, 9 to 11, Monday through Friday. Y'all listen to it, but he was the one right about all those foreign players. And as an AD, you've had to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to have players, you got to have talent, but chemistry and continuity are so important to go from being a good team to a great team to potentially a championship team, and that doesn't happen by total roster rebuild every 6 to 9 months. You're in today's environment, you got to do that some, but you've got to have some continuity, some holdover, and that costs money. I mean, it costs money for the individual players. Let's not hide behind that fact there. And, if you can do it with a couple of international kids, I think that helps because of their maturity. The fact that they, not that money doesn't speak to them, but some of them have been playing at a professional level overseas for a while, even though it may not be called that. So I think that does help in that, again, continuity and chemistry are so important to making championship runs.
Yeah, Gary, I totally agree. And people are saying, yeah, Bama didn't do well in the portal. But this Nate Oates, what is this, year 6?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the guy, every team that he has, it's the same personality. And they didn't do well in the portal. Look at all the guys that left and are doing well at other places. And he's still got Alabama in the running as one of the best teams in the SEC. Just, well, I don't care. I don't have anything against the guy at all. He's got great collection of Blazers. He's a hell of a coach. Give him his due.
Yeah, he's tremendous. And you know what? He's got a system that is fun to play, watch. As you said, the track record is there. One Final Four, another year to the Elite Eight, tournament and regular season championships. And as I said, this year with a team that I think got a lot of flaws, they're going to finish, and have a double bye and have a chance to, I don't think this is a team that's going to make it to the Final Four. I kind of see their team being Sweet 16. Just my opinion. I've been wrong many times. Fans don't panic, but I just don't think there's enough there on the inside that, again, when they get on deep into the tournament and you start playing these big physical teams, and Tennessee's an example, and Alabama got past them in Knoxville, but blueprint that. If you got some guys that can protect the rim and push them off the 3-point line and get up in their grill. And somebody texted me during the game, said Tennessee fouls about every possession, and they foul a lot. And with the understanding that you got to get physical with Alabama. We saw it in the Mississippi State game. If you just let them surround that 3-point line and swing the ball, they can brutalize you. I mean, they can hang 60-something points and a half on you. You have got to be physical with them, push them off the 3-point line. If you've got an inside game, again, Alabama just doesn't have the bodies. A lot of times they got 4 guards out there, and every year, I've said this before, Rob, unique situation with Oates. I think he's uniquely qualified to handle the modern game. Doesn't mind rolling the roster over. Excellent recruiter. Will use the portal for the most part. It's been positive until this year for guys that really haven't contributed much, and they're still good. But he doesn't look at it as a negative. This is the way the game is. We're going to coach it the way it is. We're going to recruit it the way it is. I think he looks forward every year to building a team. And, they've been good every year that he's been here. And, the script is still to be written on this team. Again, I think Sweet 16 is the ceiling, but we'll see. And a lot of it's matchups, as we know. If they get into the tournament and they get them, one good thing about Alabama, if they play a team that plays like they do, they're usually going to win that game because it's hard to play Alabama style better than Alabama does. It usually takes a contrasting style. Now, I give Georgia credit. They hung 98 on Alabama, and they won an up-and-down game. But the one kid that, went for 32 and had a career game, that helped a lot. But if Alabama runs into one of these teams, again, with dominant inside players, physicality, depth, that's the kind of team that can knock them out.
Matt?
Yeah, and I give Coach Oates a lot of credit. I think part of the secret of success is, his system. Kids want to play in that system. It's a player-friendly system. And, honestly, Rob, I probably avoided the international question earlier, but I was thinking also you look at a team that has prospered, Mark Few and Gonzaga. They've had some great international players. And I think Alabama's a system with how good they can be on the perimeter. You talk about problems when Alabama's making shots. They are a tough guard for people that aren't used to that. And the contrasting styles get you, but you still have to get up and apply ball pressure on those shooters. And if they can get by you and dribble, drive, kick, and they're making shots, they can stay with a lot of people. And that's the fun part about the tournament, guys, is there's so many different styles to play. Basketball's a sport that you can win many different ways. My greatest team I coach, guys, we shot less than 30% from three. But you know what? We were plus 9.5 in the turnover margin. We were really good in the half-court defense, and we didn't turn the doggone thing over. So if I have 9-10 more possessions to you, I have a chance to beat you, even if the ball doesn't go in the basket for me. There's so many different styles of play. That's why I love Houston in tournament play, because they traditionally do a pretty good job in half-court and guarding people.
Yeah, Matt, great point. And Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, comes on our show every Monday with Ellis Johnson and Pete Cordelli, made a great point about speed. Okay, like the three is in basketball. Speed's overrated. He said, of the 5 fastest teams, John Hartwell, only one of them in the NFL this past year made the playoffs. He said, it's not real. You better know how to play football, fill the gap, run your assignment, and do your checks and everything that you've got to do mentally. John, I know you've got to leave here in a minute to go to the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. Your final thoughts before you get on the road, and I want to hear about that because I'm a sports junkie. I don't want to see sports on any level go away because all this stuff matters. Because when you go to hire people, if they played college athletics and they graduated, that's a great hire almost every time, John.
Yeah, I'm headed over to Pensacola here in a few minutes to watch some of the games today and visit with some AD buddies over there. I tell you, if you haven't seen the clip, and it made Fox News as well, watch the video and these are the things that I'm glad I'm not an AD anymore. Watch the fight last night in the South Alabama Coastal Carolina game because it was a Donnybrook, and the worst blow was absorbed by an official who was knocked out. I mean, she was knocked out cold.
Oh man.
It'll make the NHL fans jealous to see that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we're into March now. Tournament's starting. Sun Belt's format's kind of interesting because it stretches out over 7 days. The top 2 seeds on both the men's and women's side get a double bye, so you don't have to play until the semifinals. But again, it's about getting hot. I think the premier teams, as we talked about, Florida. And some others have established themselves. But again, going back to Florida, is it going to be the end of their run if they lose a game in the SEC tournament? No, absolutely not. In fact, there may be, a piece of Todd Golden who says, hey, maybe it's good for us to get a wake-up call with a loss in this tournament. So,
yeah.
But buckle up for the next month. It's a great time as a basketball junkie. It's the greatest month of the year. So as always, guys, enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next week. Rob, I'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much, John. Awesome. Be careful driving over to Seville Quarter. Fun place to be. Gary, again, you do a show in Tuscaloosa. You've been doing it for a long time. Your boots on the ground. You've got interns that you're training, which is, consider those people. I hope they know how blessed they are. What I love about this time of year too, we got spring practice cranking up as well. Anything you want to tell us? I know they've got a hell of a football program at Alabama. The standard is what it is, and it's never going to change. I mean, it can't change, but the quarterback position, we'll start with that and just, wax eloquent, as they say in Lexington.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, a lot of position battles in spring are going to be interesting, but most people are going to be focused on the quarterback. This is the first time since DeBoer's been at Alabama that all the quarterbacks here were signed by him. 4 scholarship quarterbacks, 2 true freshmen. Of course, Austin Mack signed with DeBoer at Washington, but he signed with him, and of course, Keelan Russell. The redshirt freshman. Those 2, Mack and Russell, are going to battle for the starting job. As I said, they're really high on the 2 true freshmen they've got coming in. I expect them to get a lot of reps in the spring. But it's going to come down. I think that it'll be a legit quarterback competition. Now, there's a lot of people here that are fans that want to see Russell win that job because of all the ballyhoo that came out with him in high school, and they're worried that if he doesn't win it, he'll leave. That's the world we live in. But I don't think they're going to give it to either one of those guys just based on anything other than who earns the opportunity to be the starter. It wouldn't shock me, and again, I'm getting way ahead of the boat here, and DeBoer has shown no thought process of playing two quarterbacks, but it wouldn't shock me that if, early in the season, they played both of them, depending on how it goes in spring and in fall camp. But that quarterback competition is going to be intense. Austin Mack is a big guy. If you watched him come in there in the Rose Bowl, he's a legit 6'6", probably 230 pounds, huge arm. And then Keelan Russell is a guy that Nick Sheridan identified when he was here and felt like he was the best quarterback in the country. Alabama put a lot of effort into signing him, and he's got what I'm told is that kind of release that DeBoer and Grubb like, that just like Penix, just gets it out of his hand quick, very accurate. 6'3", still working to get a little bit physically stronger. But you're right, Rob. That's where the focus is going to be. Although I'm also going to watch the competition at running back and offensive line and defensive line. But the primary focus is going to be on those quarterbacks. And I don't expect the starter to be named coming out of the spring. I think much like last year, even though we expected it to be Ty Simpson, that wasn't put in stone until the fall camp. And I think the battle in the spring and going to fall camp is number ones. And but by that first game, I think we'll have a starter, but it would not shock me to see both of those quarterbacks play a little bit early on.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to see if Austin Mack translates to success in the SEC. This league's different too. Guys coming and going all the time. It is kind of the flavor of the year. So much change. But I think Keelan Russell, Matt Dean's the highest rated quarterback ever signed by Alabama. He was an SMU commitment until he was an Alabama commitment. That's going to be a fun one to watch, Matt.
Yeah, and I want to get your guys' opinion. I had a chance to watch the NFL Combine last week. I thought Ty Simpson made himself a lot of money. He looked really good in some of the throws. I think he's clearly the number 2 quarterback taken in this draft. I've heard him as high as maybe 16 to the Jets. But, I just think it's such a really, when Alabama has a quarterback and a system in place and they're able to run the football, they're always really, really good. So I think, from a fan perspective, if I'm a Bama fan, I'm looking forward to, spring practice, whatever. I'm looking forward to competition. And, I'm really excited for them because I watched DeBoer at Washington, what he did with Penix. I think he made Penix a lot of money too. So I think he can coach quarterbacks, and I think he was really patient with Milroe. Ty Simpson had a really good year, had some really good moments. I think if he'd had a better running game, it may have been more favorable in some of those games. But I'm looking forward to what they can do because I think they're going to get back to play action, run the football a little bit more, and I think the quarterback will thrive as long as they can run the football.
Yeah, Gary.
I agree with everything Matt said. I think one thing we know about Kalen DeBoer is he can develop quarterbacks. I mean, you look at Penix, you look what they were able to do with Milroe, got him as a third round pick for the Seahawks. And now I agree. I thought Ty Simpson looked terrific at the combine. I thought the footwork, the timing, accuracy, was able to throw it down the field. I clearly he's the second quarterback that's going to be taken in this draft. And I do think it'll be in the first round. And, that's going to justify the decision that he and his dad made to come out. And, they had a chance to go to another school for a lot of money. And, he said, hey, man, I want my legacy to be that of an Alabama quarterback. I'm a captain. My hand and footprints are in the cement at Denny Chimes. So, but yeah, I think that Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, they can develop quarterbacks. And I think whichever one of these guys wins that job, and I agree with Matt too, I think they're going to try to get back maybe to a little, quicker passing game, getting it out of their hands. And the running game's got to, in my opinion, needs to be better. Not doesn't need to be, but it's got to be better. And some of that's got to start up front. It's got to be a mentality. I don't want to hear the argument that they don't have talent at running back, because I think with Daniel Hill and Kevin Riley and A.K. Deere and E.J. Crowell, they're going to have plenty of talent at that running back position. I told somebody the other day, I'd love to see them do some two-back stuff. That's really not what they've ever done, but it would be nice to see them put 2 of those guys out there. But I think they're going to tweak the offense a little bit, but I feel good about the quarterback position, regardless of which one of those guys wins it.
All right, Lee's Tomb, question of the day, a great old bar in Tuscaloosa. Lee's Tomb, question of the day is, has anyone who's ever had their hands immortalized in the cement by the Denny Chimes as a captain of the Alabama football team, after that, entered the transfer portal
I don't think so, and I'd
There
have to
you
go
go.
back and and go through it. Jalen Hurts left, but he wasn't a captain, but he's still kind of remembered as an Alabama quarterback. But I don't think there's any player that has hand and footprints in that cement that finished up somewhere else. Now, I'd have to go back and go through it, but I'm pretty confident that if you were named captain at Alabama, you stayed and finished at Alabama.
Yeah, Dr. Denny during the Depression took a lot of slack for taking a lot of Yankee kids. Had the first accredited state and university college of business in the South. Tulane was the private school. So they had an enrollment of less than 600 students. They're about to go under, okay? By 1936, 38, 5,000 students at Alabama. That is sacred ground at Alabama, Bryant.
Yeah.
You
know more. Rob knows more about histories of colleges and universities of anybody in the country. You need to do a sideline podcast.
That wasn't on the bingo card.
And politics and
I don't know.
I mean, you should have been a game show host.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, here we go. But look, this is what's cool is getting into this stuff because, I've met Barrett Jones a few times. You talk about high character guy, 3 national championships in 4 years. That family, I mean, his brother Walker and his other brother, they all played at Alabama. You start getting people connected, Matt Dean, like we're saying, to the university. I don't think they leave you. I'm seeing it with Summerall at Florida, man. Everybody on this channel, Franz Beard, Lauren Meadows, Buddy Martin had a sit down with him yesterday. You go out and endear yourself to the fan base. And the Alabama fan base, what matters is for a lot of people, maybe they don't make $1 million a year, but they've got Alabama football and that university, and say whatever you want. It matters to me. It matters to everybody. And that's why I think we're going to turn the ship around in the SEC, Matt.
Well, and I'll tell you who it matters to as well. I mean, if I'm an NFL GM, I like the fact that Ty Simpson decided, you know what, I'm going to go out and try to be the second quarterback taken, leave my legacy, as Gary talked about, as an Alabama captain and quarterback. And I just love his maturity. I've loved the interviews the kids had the whole time I've watched him, not only as a player, but with the media. I think he's going to have a really long and productive career. I think he's got a little bit of Mac Jones in him per se, a little bit of Andy Dalton in him per se. I think he's going to be really good. And with the right program or the right team, he could be a starter within 2 or 3 years.
Whoa, let's see.
There's a video of it.
What we got there? Oh, that's the
brawl
fight
last night.
The official got knocked out. Oh my gosh. So I just want to know, is that a technical foul?
Brendan, can you rewind that a little bit?
Rewind that. Let's slow-mo that. That is scary. Wow.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's beyond bad. I mean,
Yes. Oh my God.
Wow. You there are 2 things you don't put your hands on: a police officer and an official.
And that's a women's game, right?
Yeah,
that's a women's game.
That's a women's game. And 13 there is going to, even though I don't think she was obviously trying to hit the female official, still she's going to be paying a stiff suspension. I don't know if she's got eligibility left next year or what, but
wow.
Yeah, I would dismiss her from the team permanently. Never.
Yeah.
Ever
8 ejections.
8 ejections. Yeah, you can't do that. I mean, you cannot put your hands on a cop ever. I remember
a ref, dude.
Yeah, or a ref. Either one.
Knock the ref out, bro.
Yeah,
Watch.
exactly.
And it wasn't, listen, there wasn't that much to it. The South Alabama girl, I mean, it was just a slight little hands in the back, and she just turned around and went ballistic. Obviously, it must have been building during the game. But, I mean, this is big picture stuff now. But you're getting into the lack of discipline, the way the game's played now, the way it starts. I mean, that just can't happen. No. Even if she doesn't hit the official. I mean, you can't just.
Money.
Yeah, you just can't lose control like that. And I mean, that's.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I mean that's
a haymaker, bro.
That was
an example's got to be made out of this situation.
They're done. They're never allowed to play on that team again, and they owe every bit of NIL money that they got. I mean, that's how that deal.
Play at all.
They never play it right. Yeah, they lose their right to play. They're done. Gary, you got a great show, Tide 100.9. What are you talking about today from 9 to 11? Ellis will be on.
Well, we're gonna actually, I'm gonna check in over at the the state basketball tournament, which I've missed doing those games. I did for a lot of years over at the Legacy Arena. We're gonna check in with that. David Kindred, SEC baseball analyst, is going to join us to break down the early part of the. We ain't got the SEC play yet, but and we'll talk with Jeff Spiegel, longtime sports anchor at ABC 3340, and we're gonna have Christy Curry's comments. Alabama women picked up a nice win last night in the first round of the SEC Women's Tournament over Missouri. They get Tennessee tonight. They're in Greenville, South Carolina. So, and phone calls, of course. So, looking forward to it, guys.
Yeah, Spiegel gets you excited about anything. He's got a great.
Spiegel's
both of y'all do, man.
He's Jeff's one of those guys. It's just good people. You know what I mean?
As they say in Alabama, he's good people. You're damn right. Hey, Gary,
thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you more than you know. We'll see you next week, guys. Matt. I was trying to
tell Gary something. That they did a study on people who did Irish goodbyes, and then people who did people who stayed. Irish goodbye, if you don't know what that is, that's when you just leave a party. Yes. I don't know why it's called Irish goodbye. I'm not going to get into that. That's how I heard it. Anyways, it's just a process of just leaving. You just don't say goodbye because you know you're going to see them. You work with them. You talk to them all the time, right?
I just get so excited.
No. This is a study. This is an actual study. They did a study. So the average person who Irish goodbye saves almost 2 days a year of your time. Yeah, you just say goodbye. Just almost 2 days of your a year. They say, 2.5 days.
Rob, that may be 3 for Rob.
2.5 days a year. You will say, just not going through. Do you remember if you were a kid and your parents just stood in that driveway and you're just like, "Are we leaving?" Rob, your kids must have really struggled with that one.
Well, I'll never forget. I bought my wife a new Suburban on a Friday. The next morning, we left at 5 to go down to Destin, Florida, the Panhandle, L.A. And we were not out of Memphis yet. And Hallie Wilson and Max, Hallie, my oldest one, are we there yet? I mean, it's just, they learn it. Somebody teaches kids that at a very young age. Are we there yet? But look, great.
I'm not sure that's the same thing, but that's okay. The Irish goodbye, it's all right. But that's why you're Rob, and that's why
I know.
I don't need you to understand it.
But no, you're right. Brendan's right. It's about.
I know you are, brother.
You're right. We got an awesome.
I should be like your assistant, like social media coach or something.
Well, but I tell you, I love our guests and our viewers and people like One Stone Angel and Kelly Leak. And I tell you who I miss is Gator George out in Portland, Oregon. Hope he's okay. Hadn't seen him in a while, but look.
Hey, Stoney, I don't know, man. I hope you're all right, brother. We know you started chemo. You put it in the chat. I know we haven't heard from you, so check in with us. We love you. You are our OG number one guy. So,
Saint Peregrine, the patron saint of all cancer patients. We pray for him every day and everyone going through that. Always, I promise you that. Look, we've got the best executive producer in the world, Brendan Martin. He keeps me in line. He really does. He's like Nick Saban to me. It's like playing for Nick because he knows what he's doing. And his dad, Buddy, love him like a father. Hey, Matt, great stuff today. Hey, look, folks, do us a favor. Get out, support our sponsors. Matt, you live in the Memphis, Poplar, Houston, Levy, LandersFordMemphis.com. Open every day of the week except Sunday. The day means more than the dollar. Ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. They'll get you in a car with a payment that fits just right, like a pair of shoes and good socks. Also, they're right down the street from our good friends at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Look, Dan Post, you can get 2 pairs of boots for like $500 plus tax. Great looking boots out there. You got over 7,000 pairs to choose from. The Golden Season, folks, buy this book, read it. You will fall in love with college athletics, the Gators, but it's beyond just Florida. It's about how to build a team and how to cultivate a culture. And look, don't wait till your roof's caving in. Call mytownroofing.com. Corey Carter, Chris Fiedler, Major Fusel. They've got multiple crews that'll show up day and a half, 2 days. They can take a giant house like this 7,000 square foot one I live in and get it back better than it ever was. Okay. And remember too, Landers Ford, that location, Mount Moriah, and I-240, the new location. And if you got trouble sleeping at night, aches and pains, hempforpros.com. That's Dave Bartu. They work. Get them, order them. They'll ship them to you that day. Okay, most often we